This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Right? Is that what it is? Is that what's going on? How many feet of snow do you have outside your house right now, Jay?
Come on, man. I'm looking at green grass right now. I got no snow right now. It's
real.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not supposed to start until tonight. It's coming. Okay. But yeah, the lake effect is a kind of a wild phenomenon. And if you're unfamiliar with it, so it really depends on what area of the city that you live in. I'm a bit north of Buffalo in a suburb called Amherst. It's a first ring suburb, and we get maybe half the amount of snow that they get south of the city, where Orchard Park is, where the stadium is. It's only a 20-minute drive for me to get to the stadium, so we're not talking about a great distance, but that's the way lake effect snow works. It can be a really, really narrow band. And so when Buffalo got 7 feet of snow and Orchard Park got 7 feet of snow last month, we got maybe 20 inches, a foot and a half, not even 2 feet. And so this storm that is forecasted this weekend is looking to be sort of similar. We're going to get a lot less north of the city, but where the game is going to be played is sort of right in the heart. And Orchard Park is right in what we call the snow belt. So they are going to get hit pretty hard, and it's going to start Friday night and continue into Sunday. So certainly we think that it will have an impact on the game in some fashion.
Yeah, well, we're going to see what ends up happening with this one, man, because it's kind of crazy to see all that weather. Health-wise, how are the Bills going into this game?
Fairly good. Obviously they were without Von Miller, right, from the first matchup against Miami. They have gone 2-0 without Von Miller, though. They've beaten the Patriots and the Jets without him. That's not to say they don't miss him. Certainly they do. But what are you going to do, right? ACL surgery is out for the year. You've got to move on. They also don't have Micah Hyde, Pro Bowl caliber safety. They haven't had him much of the year. So I don't want to forget about those guys, but they are on injured reserve. They're not on the active roster right now. From the active roster, Ryan Bates, starting right guard, is out. And then Jordan Phillips, who Dolphins fans probably remember a little bit, spent some time in Miami. He's had a nice season for the Bills. He's out with a shoulder injury that he suffered a couple of weeks ago. So, important losses, but the injury list is not all that long. Probably most notably, Matt Milano is going to play. He was out. I shouldn't say that. He's been very limited in practice the last couple of weeks as he manages a knee injury, but he was able to play against the Jets. He's a huge part of what they do defensively. I think, and I know it sounds crazy because Milano doesn't have near the profile that Von Miller. I think Matt Milano is a harder player to replace in this Bills defense than Von Miller is. And Jordan Poyer.
Can we call him the quarterback killer?
Look at what he did to Mike White, right? I mean, that was a clean hit, maybe the hardest hit we've seen all year on a quarterback.
And he had a dirty hit on Tua.
It was late. I guess was it flagged? I don't remember. Was it flagged?
I just said it was dirty. I didn't say it was flagged or not. I'm just stating a fact that it was a dirty ass hit, but it's not just those two guys. I've seen him dude, he hits quarterbacks, bro. Most of them have been legal, by the way.
I don't think Matt Milano's
White hits were completely legal, actually. The only time I've seen him make an illegal hit was the Tua one that was should have been flagged, and that was a dirty hit. But outside of that, normally he plays clean.
Yeah,
dude, he is a killer. He will knock the crap out of you. Okay.
Yeah. No, listen, the guy hits, and you're right. Obviously, there's a history there with what happened with Tua and how unfortunate that was. But Milano's a big part of this defense, and then I also believe Jordan Poyer may have missed that first game against Miami.
Yes,
he's back too. Yes. And that's a big factor. And another player I should mention, Tre'Davious White, obviously was out at the beginning of the year. He's kind of rounding back into shape here. This will be, I believe, the fourth game that he'll play, coming back off of ACL surgery. He wasn't available in that first meeting. And obviously, when you talk about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, having an All-Pro cornerback back in the lineup is going to be big for the Bills.
I'm with you there. Will Beasley inject himself into the lineup this week?
I see what you did there, and yes, he will. He is going to, we're fully anticipating that he's going to get called up from the practice squad and be in the lineup. I think that, you can call this a desperation move by the Bills to go out and bring him in out of retirement at this point, and I wouldn't disagree with that. But, this is a team that probably deserves to be desperate. They should be desperate. They are a good team. They're fighting for the number 1 seed in the conference, and what they hope is an extended playoff push. And when that's the case, you should be desperate to do whatever you think you need to do to better yourself. And I think slot production has been lacking for this team. I think a reliable second option behind Stephon Diggs has not been there. Some weeks it's been Dawson Knox. Some weeks it's been Gabe Davis. Some weeks it's been Isaiah McKenzie, but there hasn't been the consistency there. So when you look at
answered, I was going to ask you,
yeah,
is it that McKenzie and Gabe Davis have disappointed, or, and I think this is what you just answered, or is it there's a role that they can't fill, but Beasley can, so that's why they went and got Beasley? And I think it's the latter.
I think it's the latter too. Okay. I think it's more that Beasley gave them a skill set that they have not been able to adequately find, beyond him. And when you look last week at their game, at least 4 drops, maybe 5, depending on how you count them. They are, depending on the advanced stat that you want to believe or follow, they are at or near the top of the league in drop passes this year. So that is hurting the offense. Cole Beasley is not going to come in here and be a dynamic receiving threat, I don't think. I mean, I think his yards per catch will be pretty low, but the key is if it's 3rd and 4, can he make that 5-yard catch? That's what he's been really good at. His short area quickness is great. He's able to get off the line and get open. So converting 3rd downs, they were 2 of 13 last week against the Jets. That was terrible. They've got to get better at that, and they've got to get better at hanging on to the football. I think those are the 2 reasons why you see Cole Beasley back here.
A couple weeks ago, Stephon Diggs was caught on camera, although I don't believe he really said that. But people down here were like, they got it and they say something about like, I want Miami or something like that. Did you believe any of that? Do you think that's what he said on the sideline?
Yeah, I think I know what you're. Maybe that was the New England game. It might have been. I know what you're referencing. It's funny. We didn't hear from Stephon Diggs this week. There was. It's a condensed week, so you lose a day of media availability, and then Cole Beasley comes back. That was a big story. Von Miller returned to the team. That was a big story. So that kind of got, I guess, lost in the shuffle, if you will. But listen, I wouldn't be surprised if he said that. I mean, this team knows
what do you think he gave away. When you watch that video, do you? Because people, I just think, to me, I don't think Stephon Diggs is worried about Miami. To be quite honest, I know I know that the Dolphin Nation doesn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
But at that moment, why is he thinking Miami? I know that Miami was hot at that moment too, but it's kind of weird. I don't know. But did you think he said that, by the way?
I'm trying to remember seeing the replay. I thought it looked like maybe that's what he said. And yeah, I mean, listen, this is a team that has been accustomed to, the last couple of years, it has owned the AFC East, honestly. And at that point, I believe the Bills were either tied with or maybe even a game behind the Dolphins when that was said. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they are. I don't know that revenge is like totally on their minds, but they know the importance of this game. They also know the opportunity that they squandered. I think they believe they squandered in Week 3 down in Miami. I mean, for as tough as that game was physically on the Bills because of that unrelenting heat, they had multiple opportunities to win it, and they weren't able to finish the job. And when you look at the standings right now, that is a big game. Not so much in the division sense. It is big in the division sense, but more, this franchise here in Buffalo, their goal is the number 1 seed in the playoffs. They want the playoffs to go through Orchard Park to get to the Super Bowl. They are, and I think I maybe have expressed this with you before. I've expressed it on pretty much every radio interview, TV interview I've done. They are 3-0 in the playoffs at home under Sean McDermott. They're 0-4 on the road. That is a big, significant sample size. Home field advantage, when you look at the weather that we're potentially dealing with this weekend, teams don't want to come to Buffalo in December and January. It's reality. So if you can get home field, that's huge. And that Dolphins loss right now looms large. So, yeah, I think the Bills do want some measure of revenge against Miami. They want to put their stamp on the AFC East, and the way you do that is with a win against Miami.
What's the prediction, my brother? What'd you do for the Buffalo News?
Yeah, I've got this as a close game. I do think that the Dolphins are they're in a tough spot here. The third game of a 3-game road trip on a very short week. I mean, what time did they get home Monday morning from LA?
Yeah.
To then come up here, and I know Mike McDaniel has done his best to minimize the talk about the weather. I got news for you. It's going to be a factor in this game. And they can do whatever they want to do and say whatever they want to say about how, it's a mindset. Nonsense. It is more than a mindset. It will have an impact on this game. How will it play out? I think, that remains to be seen. I expect a close game. I think Miami is a good team. I think they're going to come in here angry about the way they've looked, particularly offensively the last couple of weeks. Yeah. But I do think that the Bills are a good enough team, a healthy enough team, and a motivated enough team to pull out a close win. I've got it 27-20 Bills.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Dolphins +7 because I think they're going to keep it close. Mm-hmm. If somehow they can pull it off, great. But I think they're forced right now, Jay, to have to play a great game. Because you can't look like shit for 3 weeks in a row. You've got to now fix things, and because that Chargers game was a really bad look for them. Yeah. In the end, you can understand San Fran stifling a little bit because of their defense, and that's understandable. But the Chargers don't have that kind of a defense, and they made you look silly. And so the Bills are going to see a lot of what those guys did the last 2 weeks. They're going to say, okay, we could do a lot of that too. Especially with their secondary, which is more of an elite secondary. And so, yeah, but I think that the Dolphins are in a position where if they have another one of those performances, the fan base will completely go off the cliff and say, okay, you guys were frauds. And then that's it. And people won't believe in them. They got to have a great performance where they lose one hell of a game or by some miracles they win there in Buffalo. I don't think the other option is a really good one for them because that will set that won't give them any confidence, and it certainly is not going to give anybody on the outside any confidence either.
Yeah, there's a couple of factors that I think are important for the Bills in this game. They have not been a great tackling team recently, and that is scary, right? When you think about Waddle and Hill and the dynamic, ability that they have after the catch, if they can make a guy miss, potentially that leads to some big plays. I think that's a worry for the Bills. I will say the Bills' run defense has been really good, and I don't expect Miami to come in here on a day where you may need to run the ball. I don't know that they're going to be able to do that with a great deal of success against this Bills defense. So, if that sets up those 3rd and long situations, who wins? Does Miami's Miami's offensive line, do they slow the Bills' pass rush enough to give time to allow Tua to find Waddle and Hill? Or does the Bills pass rush get home? I think that's going to be a real big factor in this game. And then, I was impressed with Jalen Phillips. I thought the other night played really, really good against the Chargers. How does Miami's defense match up against the Bills offense? Miami's secondary, from the 30,000-foot view has maybe struggled at times this year. So I think that could be a tough matchup, against Stephon Diggs, against Cole Beasley. And I think the Bills they've run the ball better at times. And one of the big factors in this game, and it's sort of the trump card for this Bills offense, is you may be able to defend the pass. You might be able to defend even the run, the traditional run game. But when Josh Allen gets out in space and runs, that is so difficult to defend. And I think that could be a big factor. We've seen Allen have some huge games on the ground against the Dolphins in his career. I think that's something that could really factor into this game as well.
So you bought a trump card? Is that what you're saying?
I did not buy. I did. Well, okay.
All right. I'm just.
Yeah. Let me. I guess we might need to.
I couldn't help myself. I couldn't help myself.
Now, right? Yeah.
I couldn't help myself. It was right there.
It was.
Follow him on Twitter, Jay Gurski. Catch his work there at the Buffalo News. Jay, as always, man, thank you for taking some time, man. We really appreciate it, man. And be safe, dude. All right, because BS aside, it's not easy dealing with that weather to and from, and all the things that you have to do throughout the weekend too, while you're getting pounded by snow.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and if anyone's out there listening and going to the game, take it slow on the way there and take it slow on the way home. It definitely will be impactful. So I appreciate that, and thanks as always for having me on.
Dude, the last time you guys had that snowstorm a couple weeks ago, I remember seeing a video of a guy that had He had plowed everything down his walkway and then the whole sidewalk. And then he showed a camera view of one and the other, and they're like 6-foot walls of snow, and everybody has the sidewalk cleared out. So is that like that like you have to do that right away? Is that something you have to do every couple of hours?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, if you were in that area that got hit, they got 7 feet in some areas in Orchard Park, Hamburg, which is right next to Orchard Park. You're out there every 2 or 3 hours doing it, and you at some point you just give up and say, "I'm just going to wait till it stops and then go out and do it." But if you do that, that snow was heavy and wet too, so that was really difficult to move.
And then it ices up a little bit, right?
Exactly, right. And so it becomes, so you need to stay on top of it, especially if you need to get out. Now nobody was really going anywhere because everything was shut down. That was, I don't want to say once in a lifetime because it's happened before, but we don't get storms like that frequently, thank God, because I mean, who could manage that? But this is going to be less, but it's still going to be impactful this weekend.
Is it the same shit that we do? Like when we know a hurricane's coming down here, everybody runs to the stores, they load up on food. When you guys know a blizzard is coming, everybody goes to the stores to load up food because you're going to be locked in your home for days. Actually,
no doubt.
Right?
The bread and the milk and the eggs and everything at the grocery store, it's just empty shelves. There's absolutely no doubt. And I'm sure we're going to see some of that this weekend as well. I mean, it's a perfect weekend to stay home, stay warm, and watch the game on Saturday night.
Amen. All right, Jay. Appreciate you, my brother, as always. Over the years, you've always come through for me, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. Yep. Happy holidays, everybody.
You got it, man. Happy holidays. Be safe.
Thanks.
There you go. The great Jay Gurski, baby, taking time to join us. All right, let's take